Hey everybody,
Hi there.
how's it going? Hope everybody's doing great.
Yeah, it's Friday.
Yeah. It is Friday.
Yeah,
Friday is
Friday.
important. So, we have up to this point kind of wrapped everything up we wanted to with City of Mist as far as helping players that may not have access to certain materials basically start playing the game.
Yeah, there's still more that we could cover. There's still quite a bit in the books that we didn't go over, especially the MC toolkit. But we wanted to give, with the starter set as something you have, a little bit more and some stuff from the book just to kind of make things a little bit more clear, round out the rough edges that where the things are missing in the starter kit, and just make it a little bit easier experience for new people.
So what we're going to kind of do is round out this season, this series, whatever we want to call it really. And we're going to kind of give like our final thoughts on City of Mist. We've been playing it for almost 4 months now. So I think we have a pretty good idea of what we got going on.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So the high points of City of Mist. I think the biggest high point for me, and I wish I could find more of them as full art, is the arts in the book. The art style and everything in the book is just so nice.
It's so pretty. It's literally designed like a comic book.
Yeah.
Everything from like the panels and stuff. I think I mentioned it before in one of the recordings, but it's the easiest to kind of go to. It reminds me of very much an Image comic.
Yes.
Like Spawn, Gen 13, stuff like that.
And there's so many of them in the book. Like every single one of the side panels on the 101 was a different panel from the book, a different art piece from the book, and we didn't even use out like a quarter of what's
There's
in the
so
actual
many,
book.
and
There's
it's
so
so
much
pretty.
good stuff.
Like anybody that just wants to buy the book just for the art,
Go for it. It's worth it. How easy the game is another really high point for the game on a whole. It's definitely something you can pick up the starter kit on, start playing with the pre-made characters and things like that. Get a good easy feel for.
I definitely agree. It's pretty easy to get started for sure with the access to the free starter kit. I would definitely recommend if this is something that you definitely want to play over maybe long-term campaign wise, or definitely want to revisit, do yourself a favor and get yourself the player's guide, because there's so much information that is in that guide that is not available in the free starter kit.
And if you're going to be the MC, 100% get the MC kit. There's a lot of good information in it. There's a lot of good ideas to steal from in it. Even the Knights of Paintown and the expansions that are just characters and story arcs and that kind of stuff, even those have amazing art, lots of good information, lots of good options, lots of good things to steal from and for your own game, or just run it completely from those books.
Aside from the art, which we will it's that good, there's a lot of mechanics that aren't mentioned in the free starter kit,
Yeah.
which are definitely worth picking up the guidebook for. And if you want to, you can still use our code FaderChance and you can get yourself that guide.
Definitely a power fantasy game. Definitely
Definitely.
plays to the player's favor, and just, hey, especially once you figure out the way progression works and all that, let's level you up quickly.
And you
Let's get
definitely
you as
can.
much power as possible quickly, and have you just be this amazing superhero where just decimates everything in their path.
I think, in my opinion, my favorite part about this game is the power fantasy. You can take anything that you've ever thought of, any mythology that you know of, any book that you've read, any story that you've heard, any legend that you know of, and you can make a character that is
Based on that.
Based on it. It's super
You can
rad.
have a character based on Achilles. You can have a character based on Homer. Anything.
You know, it'd be
Not
super cool.
Simpson.
You could even, like, because there's really no limit to what you can do if you
Either way.
or you could use it home for sure, or Bart, whatever.
Yeah.
You like being able to even take something that you've created, like maybe you want to make your D&D character your Mythoi. You can
Go for it.
absolutely do that.
It works really
It's
well.
endless. It's limitless.
And just off the back of that, the storytelling that you can do with this game is amazing, because it's all narratively focused.
You are gonna love this story. I promise you. It's got fencing, fighting, revenge, giants, monsters, true love, and miracles.
One thing that makes this game so rad is the cinematic engagement that you have, because it's not heavy combat driven. It can be, but the game's not really set up for that. The whole noir like sense, like the detective work and stuff like that, getting your clues and really kind of working from point A to point B and having those aha moments is awesome. It's another one of my favorite parts of this game.
It also is a really good game for one-shots because of that. It plays very well for, here, let's do this. This case is kind of a one-shot that leads into this other case that's more or less a one-shot, and eventually there's this big arc going on in the background, but the majority of what you play is a one-shot.
Yeah, and you can kind of use that as well and use those exact same moments and those one-shots, I guess we can call it, and turn those into a really lengthy campaign because it can very much become kind of like a monster of the week kind of situation.
And it plays well for a monster of the week kind of thing. You have your monster of the week episodes, and then every 3-4 episodes you have your big arc episode where it's like this little case that's part of the big arc. And
it works
definitely
out
plays that same way.
And you can basically take those, and because you're detective, it's literally just like one episode. It's exactly how the game even describes your sessions, as like an episode of a TV show, and just stack on top and just kind of keep moving forward.
Any other good highlights for you? Any high points for you of the game?
I love the art. The role playing based off of what you've got going on with your character and your mythos and stuff is really, really rad. Being able to kind of like really invest in that, and like
the back and forth of, do I want to go this way? Do I want to go that way? Do I want to invest in this or this?
The constant shifting between the mythos and the logos. Do you want to be more human, or do you want to be more legendary? Do you want more superpowers? Do you want to be more kind of like down to earth, so to speak, and you're just a normal person? I think is really rad, because if you have a group that has these different, you've got your touch, you've got your legendaries and such like that.
They're all going to play so differently, especially if you have somebody who's a legendary getting close to an avatar and they're wanting to start there and work their way back toward a sleeper. That's such a long journey for them. It's a big deal.
I agree.
So downsides.
I don't really have any downsides from my side as a player.
Let's not even say downsides. There's just places where it comes up a little short for you.
So I wouldn't say the game comes up short for me. After reading this book at length for a good while now, the only thing I would caution players to really do is, again, kind of circling back to getting the book isn't a bad idea, because there's so much more information in it. And when you're reading the book, make sure to keep reading, because there's certain spots in the book where you will think a certain situation is handled this way,
right?
But
and then later
there's
on
a certain
it clarifies.
Exactly, a certain circumstance where maybe that's the way it normally is, but you're here now, so there's maybe a small tweak.
Kind of like the Dynamite or the Avatar sleeper thing.
Yeah.
Most of the book it says, hey, you don't have access to this, or this is the way this works. But then when you get to those actual sections of the book, it says this is a special circumstance and this is actually part works.
And you can also always just say, you know what, this book is a guide. It's 100% a guide. Sure. You're going to play the game. At the end of the day, your MC is really going to be the kind of like the shot caller.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I did with statuses.
Why don't you go ahead and tell them about that?
So statuses for a player side is really simple. I have my power tags. These are the kind of statuses I'm going to be making. If you have a character that does electricity stuff, your statuses are going to be shocked, jolted, stunned, electrified, electrocuted, down to whatever the tier 6 for that is, where they just cease to exist.
Extra crispy.
For the MC side of that, you don't only have to think about an individual power tag. You have to think about everybody's power tags, how they interact, how they're going to stack together or not stack together, what the enemy's power tags make, how those stack together with different tags, convince tags and all of that. And essentially what I did was I took statuses and I boiled it down to its most basic thing, where it was, hey, if you hit it, it's got a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or whatever, and the threshold says this, and as long as it's physical or mental, that's all I worried about. And then I just rolled with that. I didn't really worry about it with convince and things like that, because those statuses are so temporary and so short-lived. I didn't really see much of a need for it. It's just, oh, hey, yeah, cool, you got a 2 on your roll, or you got a 1 on your roll.
And this is how it was implemented in our game. It made it a little bit easier.
It made it faster too.
It made it a little bit easier to kind of like follow the story, and like when we're in combat, when we're having these different status and stuff applied to kind of keep that flow going, that cinematic feel, he came up with this idea, which is, it's basically status, but kind of just like the core of it, I would say. Yeah, I don't even want to say status light, because it's not, because it still works the same way.
No, it's still everything in it. It's just narrowed down. It's instead of, well, you have shocked 1 and you have bruised 1 and you have whatever, it's like, no, that's a 1 and that's a 1, so you got 2, go for it. It's got a -2, or you have a +2 or whatever, which
at the core is really how the statuses work. I can definitely see on an MC side, just coming from what few games that I have like DM MC'd for, that how that can get complex, because even in just like Dungeons and Dragons, for example, if you don't have like the tools and stuff necessary to put, okay, this guy's stunned, this guy's unconscious, this guy's
it's
that,
extremely hard to track.
So that was just the way we handled it.
And it's part of that's from just a lack of experience coming from D&D and not having many games under my belt with the powers of the Powered by the Apocalypse kind of rule set, City of Mist kind of rule set. It's a new system kind of for me, so boiling it down to where we don't spend, well, let's spend 15 minutes talking about how this actually works and let me learn this whole thing that I would actually spend years learning on. Let me just boil this down and make it quick for us so we can keep going.
And before we close out, I think that honestly that might have been like one of the best decisions you can make, because a game that's, again, so heavy on the narrative and wants to keep that action going, wants to keep it moving.
Yeah.
You don't have to beat me. You just have to try and keep up.
When you roll into like those D&D stuff where things get extremely crunchy, it really can kind of like slow down, but those games are meant to be that way. This game's really not meant to be.
No, and statuses are the most crunchy thing in this game by far.
I'd agree. I do think that it's awesome, though, that this game doesn't have an HP pool, which I think is super dope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, essentially your
status has become the
your
HP.
status tier becomes your HP in a way. But if there's any other questions y'all have about this, we're not completely turned off of City of Mist. If there's any videos, like we get enough questions for a specific video, or we get enough questions where we feel like we have enough content to make another video, we'll go back and make another video based on City of Mist as the need arises. A lot of those we'll just answer them in the comments directly, but if there's anything else y'all want to know or have questions about, please, in the comments, ask us, hit us up in the Discord, ask us, because we're more than happy to continue talking about it.
And before we close this out, again, we just wanted to kind of touch on what kind of group we might recommend this game to.
Not the crunchy people.
No, because the game's so heavy on the cinematic side, I would recommend this to somebody that's more heavy into like the RP, more heavy on wanting to explore, find things out, get answers. Anybody that's into any type of comic book or video game thing, or any awesome history buff,
detective stuff, Batman comics, the older stuff where he's actually a detective and not just, I'm gonna beat you up. Those power fantasy people could really get into this. It plays very well for a monster of the week, like we've said, and things like that. The scaling goes really quickly, but yeah, definitely not the crunchy people.
No. And one last thing, we are going to be moving on to covering another game.
Yes.
So the next video we have is going to be our first video in the series of, I don't know if you can see it, but we got Quest over there. We're really, really excited to start covering this game. It's a very, very simple system that is perfect, in my opinion, for a player that maybe wants to get into TTRPGs that has not had the opportunity to get their feet wet yet.
It is the most boiled down, I would say, D&D-esque experience that you can find on the market right now.
But we'll get more into that in the next video.
Yeah, for now, thanks for watching. Hit us up in the Discord or the Twitters or wherever you can find us, and we'll catch you in about a week with the new stuff.
Yep. Until then, stay awesome, be excellent, and love each other.
We're out.